You jerk, mocking me. Ouch! Adele thought as the husband writhed in agony. Defending against the husband's punch with a pot lid, it perfectly catches his fist. Hilarious. Attacking out of nowhere, how simple-minded. Fine, if you want to fight with fists, I'll take you on. But I won't go down easily. I'll make sure to break your dominant hand by any means necessary. If you're okay with that, then bring it on. I am Emily, married to my husband Michael for 22 years. In our middle-aged marriage, there's no love left. I met my husband 25 years ago. He came to my office as a cold calling salesman. His sales pitch still had a fresh, faultling quality. I immediately realized he was a newbie. My husband worked at an advertising agency, handling job magazines. He was trying hard to persuade us to place job ads, but the boss wasn't interested. The boss, a straightforward person, firmly refused his sales pitch. Usually, salespeople would be discouraged and never return. But my husband showed up again a week later, persistently visiting the office despite being turned down. As a result, impressed by his tenacity, the boss took a liking to him. Although we didn't place any ads, the boss introduced him to an acquaintance, leading to a contract with another company. Over time, as we saw each other more, the then single me was introduced to my husband by the boss. We were both single at the time, so we decided to go out for a meal just once. Even at the dinner, he spoke about work with sparkling eyes. Watching him, I found myself gradually drawn to him. So, when Michael proposed a relationship, I felt truly happy. Then, everything progressed smoothly, and when we reported our marriage to the boss, he enthusiastically offered to be our matchmaker. Everything was going well, or so I thought, but then a problem arose. Do you want to have a wedding ceremony? This was an unexpected question. There are various options in the world, but I was in favor of having a wedding ceremony. I had always thought it was a given, but Michael didn't feel the same way. I don't get along well with my parents, so I don't want to invite them. I had heard about his strained relationship with his parents during our courtship. However, I didn't realize he didn't want to invite them that much. But, Emily, you want a wedding, right? Well, I won't insist, but it would be nice to have one. I think it's a once-in-a-lifetime event. I see, yeah, that makes sense. So, how about we just invite friends and have a reception? Reception. Not a bad idea, but... Honestly, I wanted to show my parents my bridal look. When I discussed it with my parents, they said they would go along with whatever we decided, and eventually we opted for a reception with friends only. We had already registered our marriage before the reception, and on the day, we both headed to the venue. But an unexpected scene unfolded before us. Wait, what's this? Not a single one of Michael's friends was in attendance. Only my friends were there. Huh? That's strange. Why isn't anyone here? Michael seemed just as confused. Then, after a few minutes of silence, he exclaimed, maybe I got the dates mixed up, the 4th and the 8th. Yeah, that must be it. No, that can't be right. We double-checked the invitations, remember? Michael remained clueless to the end, but now that I think about it, he had no friends. It was just that simple. Michael had no friends. That was quite understandable. Had I realized this fact at that time, maybe our marriage wouldn't have happened. But that's not entirely true. Now there's no love left between us. However, I have two precious children. If I hadn't married him, I wouldn't have met them. So, even with a friendless, extremely difficult husband, I have no regrets about our marriage. Michael was a very kind and considerate person just after we got married. Even the reception incident seemed like a genuine mistake. I hoped he would remain this kind and considerate, but everything changed when I quit my job during my second pregnancy. I'm home. Where's dinner? I sent you an email. Didn't you see it? I'm working, you know. Do you think I can check it at work? He always used to send messages even during work. I'm suffering from severe morning sickness and I can't do anything, so I'm taking Linda to my parents' house, I told him. Michael will be home soon, I think. What about my dinner? There's instant curry. Oh, but wait, could you heat it after I leave? I can't stand the smell. Michael stared at me silently and then headed to the kitchen. Hey, what are you doing? He didn't respond, but his hands moved quickly. Michael took the instant curry and then put it in the microwave. Then he sat down at the dining table, turning his back. Daddy, Mommy can't stand the smell of curry. You have to help her. Our 4-year-old daughter pointed out her father's actions. Oh, did Mommy say that? Daddy didn't hear that. Are you going to Grandpa and Grandma's house? Yes. I see. Have fun, okay? Yes, Daddy. Work hard too. He seemed to hear only our daughter's voice, but to blatantly ignore what I said I disliked. Is this a sign of a rotten nature? At that moment, I remembered our wedding reception. Not a single one of his friends came. It wasn't a mistake on the date. I was convinced that everyone invited deliberately chose not to attend. 2 weeks later, when my health stabilized and I returned home, it was so messy there was no place to step. I was speechless seeing my husband slurping instant noodle amidst the mess. Ew, dirty. Daddy, you have to tidy up properly. Tidying up is Mommy's job. Mommy doesn't work outside, so she should take care of the house. That's what Mommy does. No, that's not right. Everyone should help. Mommy is having a hard time with the baby. Daddy has a hard time with outside work though. Michael didn't look at me once, just smiling and talking to our daughter. This was his true nature. Daddy, let's clean up together. Me? It's okay. It will be quick if we do it together. If our daughter hadn't been there, he would have left the room dirty as it was. But he listened to what she says. Michael started cleaning the room while taking with our daughter. I wonder, can we keep this up? Anxiety and disgust arose in me. But Michael is in a good mood as long as I take care of the house. I don't mind taking care of the house and children. I think I like it. The only reason I couldn't do it was because of my pregnancy, which made it hard to move around. My daughter seems happy every day, even with a father like him. I don't want to take her smile away. My health stabilized. I decided to properly take care of the house from now on. And then, happily, my son was born, and seeing me devoted to housework and childcare, Michael was in a very good mood. However, when our son turned 5, Michael's attitude began to worsen again. I was properly taking care of the house and, of course, the children. But Michael started finding fault in everything I did. Can Daniel still sleep without someone beside him? It seemed that Michael was displeased that our son still needed someone to sleep beside him. I had sensed this, but children don't stay little forever. Gradually, they grow and will eventually no longer need someone beside them to sleep. It's a temporary thing. He's already 5. Aren't you pampering him too much? He's only 5. Linda still needed someone to sleep beside her at his age, didn't she? Linda is a girl. So, that doesn't change the fact that they're both children. But there are gender differences. A boy should be raised to be manly. Moreover, Daniel is always just reading books. What's wrong with that if he enjoys it? That's not right. Boys should be running around outside. He plays outside at kindergarten, you know. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying you are too indulgent. He should be able to go play in the park by himself by now. What? He's only 5. I can't just let him go to the park alone. Michael was irritated. That's what I mean. You are overprotective. No, this is the first time I've heard this. Our son does play outside. He just likes reading books. After living together for so long, how can he not understand this? From a young age, Daniel showed interest in letters, learned hiragana quickly, and enjoyed reading. What's the problem with letting him do what he likes as long as he has time? And what's the difference between a daughter and a son? I couldn't understand at all what Michael was saying. However, after a while, Daniel started saying he wanted to play with his kindergarten friends. He still liked reading books, but he began to play outside more often. Seeing this, Michael seemed satisfied and quieted down for a while. Every time Michael said something incomprehensible, I considered divorce. But despite his criticism of me regarding the children, they liked him. In front of the children, he played the role of a good father, always saying, "That's good, that's good." I am the only one tired of this gap. If the children loved their father, I overlooked his inexplicable behavior and only criticized me. Even after many years, Michael still smiles at the children and repeats to me about education, what I'm doing wrong and what I'm not doing right. And I no longer have any love left for such a husband. I just value him as a father of my children. It must be nice to be a housewife. Lately, he's even criticizing me for being a housewife. I can't remember when it started. It feels like I've been hearing it for so long. Every time he says this, I think about it. It was Michael who wanted me to be a housewife. Ultimately, it was my decision. But it was his earnest wish. He spent a lot of time alone at home as a child because his parents both worked and he felt lonely. So he wanted his children to have a mother nearby. He even said he would earn enough without any complaints. Well, leaving the latter aside, Michael criticized me for being a housewife, a role he wanted me to take on as if he has forgotten his wishes. Honestly, it's not worth listening to. It must be nice to be a housewife. So carefree. If only I were a housewife, I could relax too. Hey, are you even listening? What is it? I hear everything, but I don't pay attention to such noise going in one ear and out the other. I'm saying being a housewife is easy. I wish I could do it. Why are you raising your voice? The kids will be back soon. Do you want them to see your true nature? You want to be a good father in front of the kids, right? Michael doesn't want to be disliked by the kids. He glances at the clock and continues his rant. And the next day, he continues with, I want to be a housewife. Housework is easy. No one complains. And so on, persistently attacking me. Is something not going well at work? Lately, I felt his treatment of me has become increasingly harsh. And on the third day, I was so fed up with Michael's persistence that I burst into laughter. That made Michael turn red with anger and he yelled loudly, You just laughed at me now. Well, it's just too much already. That's why no one came to our reception, isn't it? Because you're like this. You. Hey, the kids are in the room. Should you be yelling like this? That doesn't matter. You belittled me. Look down on me. Apologize. Get on your knees. Who do you think provides the food you eat? Who do you think makes this life possible? Me. It's all thanks to me. Ah, yes, you. Like a big reggae wave on a summer beach. You jerk mocking me. Ouch. A dull thud as Michael writhes in agony. Depending against his punch with a pot lid, it perfectly catches his fist. Hilarious. Attacking out of nowhere, how simple-minded. Fine, if you want to fight with fists, I will take you on. But I won't go down easily. I will make sure to break your dominant hand by any means necessary. If you're okay with that, then bring it on. Michael completely loses his nerve. It seems he fully understands how serious I am. He raises his fist again but then trembles and turns away, pulling out a piece of paper from his bag. Divorce. I look at the paper and see Michael's handwriting. Oh, how long has he been thinking about divorcing me? The fact that he had a fill-out divorce form suggests it wasn't spur of the moment decision. Hey, what's all this noise about? It's a nuisance to the neighbors, you know. Our daughter and a son appeared in the living room. Michael looked at them with pleading eyes. Kids, I've reached my limit with your mom, who doesn't value me anymore. I'm thinking about divorce. What? I'm sorry. Mom will be leaving this house, but from now on, the three of us will live together. As Michael approached the children, Daniel, our son, stared intently at the divorce papers. Yep, it's already filled out. Okay, I understand. I agree with the divorce. Thank you. Thank you, Linda. So, Mom, shall we go? What? It's okay, we've already packed our immediate belongings. Let's go to Grandma's. I was led by my daughter to the entrance, where 3 bags were prepared. Linda always understands things quickly. Come on, get out now. Okay, got it. Bye then. The kids started putting on their shoes. What, are you going to escort Mom to Grandma's house? You don't need to do that. Mom's an adult after all. It's amazing you can only see yourself. You really can't read the situation, can't you? Linda and I are going with Mom. We know what you've been doing to Mom when we are not around. You've always harassed Mom, haven't you? Mom stayed in this marriage for us, but Linda and I are on Mom's side. If you want to divorce, we agree with that. Stunned, Michael watched it as Daniel quickly snatched the divorce papers, and I was pushed out of the house by my children. Realizing what was happening, Michael chased us outside. Without me, you won't be able to go to school. Mom's just a housewife. She has no money. Dad doesn't understand anything, does he? Well, it's okay. Let's go to Grandma's house. As I spoke to the children with a smile, Michael raised his voice even more. So be it. I get nauseous just looking at your face, so this is perfect. Danielle looks just like you. Linda and Danielle are the spitting image of me. Don't talk back to me. Please just leave me alone. At this, the three of us burst into laughter. You're asking, but you're about to be alone, aren't you? Why state of obvious? Well, as you wish, I'll disappear. Mom, Grandpa is waiting at the convenience store around the corner, so we should hurry. I contacted him. Oh my, you are responsible. Well then, enjoy your single life. Michael kept calling our names, but none of us looked back. Upon arriving at my parents' home, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. He's still as annoying as ever. In the end, Michael just wanted to be the most important person in our lives. He wanted all the attention on him, as if I could do that with children to care for. Children eventually leave their parents' homes. Had he waited, he would naturally have had more time as a couple. I ignored all of Michael's annoying calls and submitted the divorce papers to the city hall. Unable to reach me by phone, Michael resorted to emails and messages, but only sent disheartening messages like, "You can't live without my earnings. You need my money," and "Come back even if it's just you." 2 weeks after the divorce, frustrated, my ex-husband was waiting for me in front of my parents' house. "Hey, why haven't you come back? You don't have any money, right? Your parents are just living off their pensions. Stop being stubborn and come back." "I won't return. We're divorced." "We can't just remarry." "What? Remarry? No way. I'm not restarting my life with someone as rotten as you." And about my parents being on a pension? Not at all. They're working as active accountants. Oh, and by the way, my qualifications are still valid. I'm now working full-time in my parents' office. So, I don't need you at all. As I spoke the truth, Michael broke down crying. In just 2 weeks without me and the kids, the house had become a dump and he couldn't manage his life. He kept whining about being abandoned, but not once did he apologize. "Do you need a bowl?" "What?" "You said you get nauseous at the sight of my face, right? What do you mean by a bowl?" "You never helped with household chores, did you?" "Well, then, take care." I slipped past my sobbing ex-husband, entered the house, and securely locked the door. I knew my prideful ex wouldn't ring the doorbell with his face showing, but just to be sure, for a while he kept contacting me, but then it abruptly stopped. "Mom, good job. Sorry for making you endure all this. At first, we couldn't believe that way Dad was treating you. We loved him so much, but what Dad was doing was just like bullying. No matter how kind he was to us, we hated seeing him be mean to you. Let's live a happy life from now on." "Yes, thank you." I don't know what happened to my ex-husband after that. He doesn't have close people to bring me any news. However, I did see him once in the town. He was yelling in a supermarket. "Don't ask me if I need a bag every single time. I'll ask for it if I need it. Stop being so annoying all the time." As usual, his character was abominable. "Hey, you're being too loud." The staff are just being polite by asking. Reprimanded by the older ladies, my ex-husband hastily left the supermarket. Seeing him like that, I genuinely felt relieved that I had divorced him.
I want a child of my own too. In a sarcastic tone, my husband Sam Walters said. Unable to bear it any longer, I finally spoke up. What? What are you talking about? A child is right here in front of you. I've been relentlessly nagged by my husband, Sam, for not being able to have children. Even now, he's holding my sister's baby in front of me, as if to make a show of it. What? Sam's mouth hung open in surprise. Despite all the evidence, is he going to play dumb? I won't let him. I'll send you all to hell. My name is Allison Walters. I'm a 25-year-old housewife. All right, it's done. I was preparing dinner in the kitchen. When I opened the large pot, a refined spice aroma wafted through the air along with the steam. I tasted the stew from the pot. The spiciness is okay, the meat is tender, good, it's just to his liking. Just as I sighed in satisfaction. I'm home. My husband, Sam, had returned. I went to the entrance to greet him. Welcome back. I made your favorite stew today. As I took his bag at the entrance and was about to return to the room. Hey. Sam grabbed my shoulder. I felt a piercing gaze on my back. How did it go? Today was the day, right? I gasped at his words. My heart pounded, and dizziness overcame me. Answer me. I swallowed hard and opened my mouth. What? I gathered my courage and spoke. It didn't work. This month too, the baby didn't come. I clenched my hands tightly. Seeing this, Sam let out a big sigh. Again? Why can't we have a child? Are you just trying to appease me by making stew? I'm sorry, but don't make excuses. All my friends had kids right after getting married. They're all happy, thinking of names and buying baby clothes. I want a child too. But we've only been married for 3 months. There's no need to rush. TCH. Sam stared into my face. Then, as if something struck him, he snorted. Maybe you're infertile as a woman? Go to the gynecologist or something. Sam snatched the bag from me and went to his room. I covered my face with both hands. I too want a child. To nurture a new life, to feel the preciousness of it. I want to be moved by every step of my child's growth. But maybe I'm not qualified for that. My parents disappeared before I could even remember them. They vanished, leaving us behind. What remained were me and my twin sister. I grew up without knowing parental love. Can someone like me become a good parent? It's something I always worry about. But I can't give up. The desire to have a child is genuine, so surely, someday, God will grant me this wish. I'll hold on to this hope and wait. Next month is our long-awaited wedding ceremony. It's a bit delayed, so my expectations are high. All right. Smile, smile. I went to call Sam for dinner. Today is Sam's birthday. I prepared a cake and a present, waiting for his return. Then, the doorbell rang. It's rare for someone to ring the bell, isn't it? I hurried to open the door. There stood a woman. She was as beautiful as an actress, with an elegant face and figure. She brushed her glossy black hair over her shoulder. I'm coming in. It was my twin sister, Olivia. We are fraternal twins. Seeing her face, so different from mine, I was startled. Olivia? What are you doing here? Just visiting. But today is Sam's birthday. I wanted to celebrate it just the two of us. I emailed you, remember? My sister quickly clasped her hands in front of her chest. Sorry. I forgot. I've been feeling lonely since you got married. Ever since I got married, my sister has visited unexpectedly. Sometimes every week or every 3 days. This has limited the time I can spend with Sam, and we have yet to be able to talk properly recently. However, when I hear my sister say she's lonely, I can't bring myself to say anything. After all, we are the only family we have. Hey, sis. I'm giving you this bag. I haven't used it much lately. I opened the paper bag my sister handed me. What? This is a famous brand. It's fine. I usually give these to friends. This time, it's for you. Carry it when you go to dinner with friends. Oh, but you don't have many friends, unlike me. Look at this. The party I had recently. My sister showed me a photo. It was of her and over 100 friends enjoying an elegant dinner. I chuckled. You're popular, Olivia. You're the complete opposite of me. You're amazing. You work hard, have money, and a boyfriend, right? Well,
Yeah.
it's only natural. My sister laughed proudly. I gave a wry smile at that. Huh? Then she looked at the table and froze. She burst into laughter, holding her stomach. Wait, you made this cake by hand?
Yeah.
Is it strange? Of course, people prefer cakes bought from a store. You're doing unrewarding things, sis. You're pitiful. My sister peeked into my face and smiled. Well, that's what makes you cute. She smiled warmly, and then suddenly her eyes sparkled with excitement. Oh. I have some news to share. I'm home. Sam came back from work. We paused our conversation to welcome the star of the day. As I was cutting the cake, Sam and my sister started getting excited while watching TV. This actress is so pitiful. She couldn't have kids after getting married, and when she finally did, she was 40. So miserable. True. The two of them seemed to get along well, often bad-mouthing celebrities together. They almost seemed like a real couple. Oh, look. A baby photo. My heart skipped a beat at her words. Babies are symbols of happiness. I believe giving birth is a woman's mission. A woman who can't have children isn't a woman. I get it. I click with you, Olivia. We do have a lot in common. I quietly served the cake. Right, Allison? Sam started to tease me. Then my sister suddenly covered her mouth.
Oh no.
Sorry. I didn't mean you, sis. It's about someone else. At that moment, my sister looked at me and smirked. It was a look I had never seen before on her. I felt a definite malice in it. The reason my sister came to visit was that she felt lonely without her sister. That's why I couldn't say no. But, is that true? After the party ended and my sister left, a message came on my phone. I'm pregnant. I said I had news, right? Of course, I'm planning to get married. Sorry for being happy first. My family is becoming happy. I should be glad, I should be celebrating. But something dark was growing inside me. Time flew by quickly, and today was the long-awaited wedding day. We chose a small local church as the venue. It was somewhat modest, but I wanted to save money for our future child. After dressing in my wedding gown, I enjoyed a calm moment in the waiting room. But that peace was shattered in an instant. Bang! The door flung open. Here I am. Congrats, sis. Startled, I turned to my sister. But what shocked me even more was what I saw. Olivia, that outfit. Eh? What is it? I swallowed hard and then said. You can't wear white at someone else's wedding. Yes, my sister was wearing a pure white dress. She clasped her hands together exaggeratedly. Sorry. I wanted to avoid it, but I just loved this dress, and... She grinned. I look good in this dress, don't I? My sister, striking a proud pose, tilted her head as if to look down on me. Then she looked me over in a demeaning way. Is that dress handmade? It looks more like a sundress than a wedding gown. It doesn't have the fluffy look typical of dresses. Yes. A favorite designer of mine made it just for me. She sewed in lots of embroidery of flowers that I like. My sister smiled with just her mouth. Oh, how nice for you. Embroidery usually gives off an old lady vibe. But it suits you so well, doesn't it? Oh, thank you. I forced a smile on my face. Hey, it's time to get going. Sam entered the room brusquely. Beautiful, aren't you? Not even a single word of that was given to me. I sighed deeply. The ceremony went smoothly, and the reception began. Now, we will have a speech from a family member. My sister stepped up to the microphone. The male guests in the hall instantly started murmuring. Beautiful. Gorgeous. I wish I could marry someone like her. Their gazes leaped over her dress, entwining with her beauty and figure. Ahem. Hello, everyone. I'm Olivia, the sister. There are a few empty seats today, but thank you all for coming. The reception was missing about 30% of the guests. The seats reserved for my sister's friends were empty, none had shown up. As you can see, my sister doesn't have many friends, just 8. She spends her weekends cooped up, eating sweets. And tapping away on her phone. Isn't that pitiful? There were chuckles from the audience. I felt the blood drain from my face. Olivia, what are you saying? It's a wedding, right? A reception, right? But I love my sister very much. Sam, please make her happy. My sister smiled like an angel. There was a round of applause. Who that applause was for, I didn't want to think. After the reception, I called my sister to the waiting room. What was that about, Olivia? Those empty seats were for your friends, right? Making it sound like it was my fault. I pleaded desperately, but my sister just smiled and patted my head. Don't be mad. If you worry about this, life will be tough, you know? My friend said it was a good ceremony. The two of them were nonchalant. Why? How could you? As I panicked, they laughed at me as if mocking me. I stood frozen, unable to comprehend this absurd reality. Then, my in-laws arrived. They comforted me and scolded Sam and my sister. Our son is truly sorry, they said and apologized. I felt a bit relieved, but suspicion towards them rose within me. The feeling of discomfort that had been building up slowly but surely. 10 months had passed since then. Sam, his parents, and I were in the car, heading somewhere. Sam, in the driver's seat, seemed excited. Man, I'm looking forward to this. You too, right, Allison? Huh? I kept my head down and remained silent. We arrived at Olivia's house. Sam and my in-laws began to get excited around the living room sofa. So cute. Glad the baby was born healthy. At the center of it all was my sister. And her baby. As soon as my sister saw me, she ran over, cradling the baby. Look, big sis. Isn't she cute? She looks just like me. My sister radiated happiness. But her eyes were wide, seemingly enjoying my reaction, her mouth twisted in amusement. Congratulations. I muttered softly, looking down. Wow, so cute. Can I hold her? Of course. Sam's eyes sparkled as he held the baby. Babies are just so adorable, aren't they? Look, Allison, a symbol of happiness.
Yeah.
What's the matter? Jealous of Olivia? That's why you can't get pregnant. Sam held the baby as if to flaunt her in front of me, grinning at me mockingly. I want a child of my own too. At that moment, something snapped inside my head. What? A child right in front of you. What? Sam's mouth fell open in shock. Huh? My in-laws stared, eyes wide in confusion. I pointed at the baby in Sam's arms and spoke clearly, so everyone could hear. There she is. Your child. Yours and Olivia's, your cute baby. The atmosphere froze instantly. Sam's face turned pale, and Olivia's face contorted. I pulled out photos from my bag and scattered them on the floor. The photos clearly showed Sam and Olivia heading into a hotel together. I know everything about the affair between Sam and Olivia. As I declared this, my sister burst out laughing. Stop it, this is some kind of joke, right? A composite or something. Don't be stupid. The stupid one is you, Olivia. I suspected you too. So I installed surveillance cameras in the house. And then, when I wasn't there, you too. I pulled out my phone and played a video. The video of my sister and Sam's affair started playing in the living room. My sister's face turned bright red in an instant. What is this? Stop it. Stop it. My sister lunged at me like a mad woman, snatched the phone, threw it against the wall, and stomped on it repeatedly. The phone screen shattered dramatically, emitting a strange noise. I watched her with a cold gaze. It's useless, Olivia. My sister, who was tearing up the photos, looked up at my words. Useless? What do you mean? Then a furious shout filled the room. Sam. My father-in-law had grabbed Sam by the collar. You betrayed Allison? And with her sister. You monster. And made a child with her. How are you going to take responsibility for this? You foolish son. My mother-in-law was in tears. Sam, confronted by his parents, trembled uncontrollably. Wait a minute. We don't know for sure that the child is mine and Olivia's, right? Allison is just trying to make me look bad by saying whatever comes to her mind. DNA test. Huh? I said it loudly. A DNA test will reveal who the child belongs to. Why don't you go to the hospital? Boo. Boo. Sam stammered, but, stubborn as he was, he appealed to his parents. Look. Allison can't get pregnant at all. Isn't a woman. Who can't bear children unsuitable to be a wife? Are you out of your mind? You're the one who's unsuitable as a husband for having an affair. That's... Sam shifted his gaze away. My in-laws sighed heavily and looked away. You need to say something. Why did you do this? Betraying your family is a deep sin. My sister shuddered. It's not my fault. The bad one is my sister. My sister clenched her teeth and glared at me with a demonic expression. It's because you stole my first love. What? I had no recollection of that. Since our parents disappeared, I've always acted strong. But you were always so gloomy. It was so annoying. And then, my first love rejected me for you. He said he liked you because you were pitiful and he couldn't leave you alone. That's when I swore to make you truly pitiful. First, I decided to make you feel lonely. I constantly reminded you that we were alone without our parents. You grew up to be a gloomy girl with no friends. Then, I wanted to instill a sense of inferiority in you. Olivia is amazing. I'm not good enough. That's why I flaunted my branded stuff and boasted about my many friends. So, her giving me branded items and bragging about her friends was all to make me feel inferior. And probably stealing Sam too. Now you see, right? You're beneath me. Betrayed by your husband, hated by your sister, you're the most pitiful woman in the world. My sister laughed loudly. But I felt no emotion. I'm pitiful? Is that what you think, Olivia? Okay. She must have expected me to lose it. My sister looked confused and frozen. But I don't care about that. Right now. I just hate Olivia. I loved you so much, yet you've been manipulating me for so long, it's cruel. Too cruel. So, I'll return everything you did to me. I mimicked her laugh. My sister backed away, looking at me as if I were a monster. Was my face really that scary? Wait and see, both of you. I left the house alone. Several months have passed since then. Sam served me divorce papers and left. He went to my sister's house. Today, I attended a wedding. It was cold, so I wore a thick long cardigan over my dress, making sure the dress underneath was unseen. The venue was a spacious church, one of the largest in the US, with over 100 guests. There were so many people that I couldn't even see the bride and groom's faces properly. It must be the same for them. As the bride and groom entered, applause erupted. The priest began the vows. Do you, Sam Walters, take Olivia to be your wife, in good times and in bad, in richness and in poverty, in sickness and in health? Today is the wedding of Olivia and Sam. I found out about my sister's wedding 1 month after that chaotic scene. My sister had announced her shotgun wedding with Sam on social media. The post also mentioned the wedding. They had prepared quite early. They probably planned it even before my wedding. That's why my sister didn't invite her friends to my wedding. I didn't make invitations for my sister's friends. She said she would handle it, creating a group chat to confirm her guests. I thought she was trying to lessen my burden with her thoughtfulness. But now, I think she probably never made that group chat. She lied about everyone attending. She hadn't invited anyone. That's why no one came. Such a simple answer. In hindsight, Sam also seemed to have invited only acquaintances. I was never introduced to Sam's close friends, both before and after our marriage. Whether Sam was connected with my sister before marrying me or it was just bad timing remains a mystery. But one thing is clear. They wanted this to be their first wedding. They wanted to erase all their time with me. That's unforgivable. What was all the time I loved Sam, all the time I spent for him, then? It's unforgivable to ruin one person's life and then be happy by themselves. I reaffirmed my determination for revenge. The wedding ended successfully, and the reception began. Due to the large number of people, it was a standing party, and the venue was crowded. I hid in a corner. Now, we would like to present a special video message from the groom's parents, who couldn't make it today. Please have a look. The staff announced proudly. My sister and Sam were taken aback. The screen lit up, revealing the in-laws. They were smiling, but their eyes were sharp as if hunting prey. It's finally starting. I smirked, watching the screen. Sam, Olivia, congratulations on your marriage. Congratulations. They looked at each other and laughed in the video. Thank you, everyone, for coming today. As a token of our gratitude, we have a gift for you. Excited murmurs of, "What is it?" A present rose from the audience. My mother-in-law spoke, cutting through the chatter. "It's a gift of words." "Please, go ahead, Father." "Sure, leave it to me." He tightened his previously relaxed mouth, his expression turning demonic. Do you see the bride there? She is Sam Walter's mistress. And not just any mistress, but his wife's sister. Do you understand what we're saying? That's not a fresh pair of newlyweds. They are adulterers. We will never acknowledge their marriage. We're cutting ties with. Stop the video. Sam's scream echoed as the video abruptly stopped. But it was already too late. The audience was speechless at the shocking revelation. Sam stood up and shouted, "Everyone. That was just a joke from my parents. A bit too intense." The crowd began to murmur. "Yes, that's right. It was just..." Before my sister could finish her explanation, I snatched the microphone from her. "It's the truth." I said just one word. Then I took off the cardigan I was wearing. What appeared was a white dress. A year ago, I wore this dress when I married Sam. You remember, don't you, Sam? When I looked at Sam, his face had turned pale and he was frozen. I took advantage of this moment to pull out something from an envelope I had and scattered it around the venue. They were photos of my sister and Sam's affair, as well as pictures from my wedding with Sam. The copied photos were enough to be passed around to all the guests. Watching the commotion in the hall, I let out a breath. I did it. I did everything. Feeling half-dazed, I collapsed on the spot. Suddenly, someone grabbed me by the collar. Looking up, my sister was staring at me, her eyes wide as if they were about to pop out. "Why are you here? I didn't invite you. I didn't tell you the place or the time." I burst out laughing at my sister's panic. "What are you talking about, Olivia? You told me. On social media. Was it a hint?" I figured it out right away. My sister's wedding announcement on social media conveniently included the wedding date. August 18th. A good day for couples. And every time she updated her SNS, she started talking in detail about what the venue was like. And how carefully she chose it. It must have been a dig at me. I'm having such a wonderful wedding. Not like yours. But that gave me a hint. I found it easily with a search online. SNS is scary, isn't it? But why did they let you into the venue? Your name wasn't on the list. I sighed and gave her the obvious answer. Because I'm your sister. The receptionist was one of your friends, right? She knew my face. So she let me in. No one would turn away the bride's sister just because her name wasn't on the list. You did that video too. You sneaked it in, saying it was a surprise. And kept it secret from me? We didn't invite them. Yes. Your in-laws sided with me. They came to my house, apologized, and said they couldn't stand to see Sam and Olivia happy. So we all planned this. Today's plan. I pointed around the venue and laughed. Look, everyone's leaving. Seeing the guests leaving, my sister's face turned blue. Wait. Please. When her friends turned back, they looked at her coldly. Oh. Olivia. Why are you leaving? Those pictures. The pictures might be fake. But we don't want to be associated with someone who might have had an affair. Being with you lowers our value. Value? But we're friends, right? You lured us with brand items. We were nice to you for that reason too. That's why we helped, right? Like taking group photos to show off to someone. You mean? Let me say this as a parting word. You see us as numbers, right? The more, the better. Each of us individually doesn't matter to you. My sister bit her lip hard, probably because it hit a nerve.
Goodbye.
Olivia. Her friends left. The hall fell silent, leaving only my sister sitting on the floor, Sam holding his head. And me, strangely calm. Well then, Olivia, see you around. I left the venue. A few days after my sister's wedding, I was relaxing at home. But I knew this peace was only temporary. The doorbell rang. I checked the peephole and then opened the door. Allison. Sam lunged at me. How dare you ruin our happiness with such a ridiculous stunt? Absolutely unbelievable. This wicked woman. My sister appeared behind Sam and pushed me. I hit the wall and crumbled to the floor. But none of that mattered to me. I spoke in a cold voice. You two never learn. But, conveniently, you came here. Huh? My sister crossed her arms and looked down at me. Sam, check your email. There's important information in it. Huh? I had sent an email just before opening the door, attaching photos and videos. Photos and videos? Not that again. Sam reluctantly took out his phone. His face turned red with anger. He spun around and thrust the screen at my sister. Olivia. Who is this old guy? The photos showed my sister dressed flamboyantly, holding hands with several older men. The video showed her entering hotels with them and receiving money. Sugar dating, right, Olivia? I stated matter-of-factly. Olivia, you buy so many branded things. It was to show off to me, right? But it's impossible on a regular employee's salary. So I looked into it. It was quite fun, almost like being a detective. You. My sister was breathing heavily. I turned to Sam, who was looking downcast. Hey, Sam. Did you get the DNA test? Huh? I told you. A DNA test would tell if the child is Olivia and your baby. There's no need to, because... Sam gasped, realizing a terrifying possibility. Sam. I spoke each word. Whose child is it, I wonder? At that moment, Sam grasped my sister's hand tightly. He looked straight at her and murmured. Olivia, did you betray me? After all, you've done, even the child. What are you talking about? That child is yours. Are you doubting me? Of course I am. How can I trust a woman who secretly does sugar dating? You believe Allison over me. Then you'll agree to the DNA test, right? We're going to the hospital tomorrow, okay? Sam clutched my sister's hand as if pleading with her. He must want to believe in her. Well, that's... My sister faltered in her response. This reaction was clear evidence. Sam was scratching his head frantically. Arg. I thought having a beautiful wife would be something to boast about. But look at this mess. You sisters have completely ruined my life. Sam stomped around, lashing out at furniture and appliances, before storming out of the house. My sister, who tried to stop him, was pushed aside and ended up sitting on the floor, looking down. Olivia. I looked down at my sister and decided to provoke her. So, how do you feel now? My sister twitched in response. Once the baby's test results are out, Sam will probably leave you. You've lost your friends too. My sister glared at me fiercely. I have friends. Not everyone has left me. Then what messages did you get after the ceremony? Huh? She was caught off guard by such a question. Did anyone worry about you after the ceremony? ask about the situation. Comfort you? My sister awkwardly averted her gaze from me. I did receive messages. When Olivia tried to humiliate me with her speech when I divorced Sam. I only have 8 friends, but each one of them worried about me and showed their support. You have so many more friends than me, yet no one seemed concerned about you. I could hear my sister grinding her teeth. Left by the man you took from me, with no friends left. Olivia, how pitiful. Those words came from my heart. My sister suddenly looked up, her voice raised. Pitiful? Me? What are you talking about? That's just your perspective. I'm not pitiful. I'm beautiful and have a great body. And men lavish me with gifts because I'm worth it. The pitiful one is you, with no redeeming qualities. Unmoved by my sister's outburst, I promptly responded. That's right. Let me say this then. Olivia, you're not above me. Not in the past, and not in the future either. What? You know, I always praised you, saying you were amazing. With all your branded stuff and lots of friends. You wanted me to say that, right? To acknowledge that you're better than me. That's right. So what? Well, I never actually thought you were amazing even once in my life. What? I glanced at my sister's bag tossed on the floor. I have no interest in branded things. I don't care that I have fewer friends. I've never aspired to be someone with many friends. That's my value system. So, Olivia, you were never taking any high ground over me. What? That's a lie, right? You were jealous of me and said I was amazing. I said those things to make you happy. Because we're family. You can't just show indifference when someone is proudly sharing their joy. In a word, I was flattering you. And you took it seriously. What? Huh? I loved you, Olivia. We were the only family we had, so I didn't want to lose you. And I was careful with my words. My sister screamed with a trembling voice. You're lying. You were upset about not being able to have children. That doesn't matter anymore. I answered with a sigh. I was obsessed with the idea of having children during my life with Sam. But life isn't that simple. There are many kinds of people and many ways of living. I'm done being tormented by my obsession with children. But then, everything I did. My sister began to shake uncontrollably. Unable to move by herself, I dragged her out of the house.
Goodbye,
Olivia. I closed the door with a thud. After that, my sister and Sam divorced. The baby turned out not to be Sam's, according to the DNA test. The news of my sister and Sam's affair spread quickly, as they had invited 100 people to their wedding. Both my sister and Sam lost their jobs and struggled with temporary work. I moved away to start a new life. In this place, without my sister and Sam, I plan to forget everything and start over. Today, I'm visiting a friend's house. They just had a baby. I rang the doorbell with a gift for the newborn. My friend opened the door with the happiest smile. Congratulations. I sincerely express my congratulations.
My name is Elizabeth. I am currently 34 weeks pregnant and have just started my maternity leave. In our 2-bedroom rental apartment, baby items are steadily accumulating, and I eagerly await the day I get to meet my baby. As I make coffee, I speak to my husband, Jack, who is struggling with assembling the baby bed while consulting the instruction manual. Let's take a break and have some coffee. I arranged a cup of black coffee for Jack's seat and a decaffeinated coffee for myself, then spread out a tin of cookies we had received as a gift. It smells good. right? I ground beans for the first time in a while. I wish I could drink good coffee and alcohol. Can't wait to wean the baby. You're already talking about that, and the baby isn't even born yet. While laughing, Jack came over from assembling the baby crib and asked, "Is it difficult to assemble? I really wanted a round type, but maybe a square one would have been better." To which he replied, "It's cute and nice. We should buy furniture we like since it's always in sight." Spending a peaceful Saturday afternoon like this, I feel it's a luxury knowing soon we'll have to say goodbye to these moments. Well, these cookies are amazing. Where did you get them? That good. Chrissy went to France last week. It's a gift from there, from a famous store. Chrissy always picks great gifts. She knows good places to eat. Oh, ask him for a good place for our wedding anniversary. It'll probably be our last dinner out, just the two of us. So let's indulge in something delicious. Okay, I'll ask him. But maybe you should stop, or you'll get fat. Laughing, Elizabeth commented while watching Jack unable to stop reaching for cookies. Chrissy, a close friend since elementary school, often looked after Elizabeth, who was petite and clumsy since childhood. When I quit my job within a year of starting, Chrissy's father, who ran her own business, offered me a job. Chrissy's father runs his own business, using a prefab shed on their property as an office for motorcycle-related work. Gratefully accepting his offer, I have been working at Chrissy's father's company ever since. I was honestly surprised when Chrissy's father asked me, "Elizabeth, you're going to take maternity and parental leave, right? Can I really take maternity and parental leave?" Christina's father, "If you're coming back, I'll hire a part-timer for the period. It's easier to work with you around. But if you want to focus on parenting, don't feel pressured." Since it's a small company, I hadn't expected such employee benefits. Initially inclined towards resigning as a matter of course, I felt a mix of happiness and guilt. But I immediately responded with a firm "I'll return." Definitely. Jack was relieved to hear about the job security. That's a huge financial help. For this reason, having finished work last weekend, I am now enjoying a leisurely and comfortable maternity life starting this week. What shall I do every day until the birth? Just relax. It's going to be tough once the baby is born. I can't imagine what it's like, but I'm already bored and have too much time on my hands this week. All the baby stuff is ready, and there's no reason to go out except for checkups. I heard walking a lot makes childbirth easier. It's cold and chilly outdoors in January, so why not stroll around a shopping mall? Window shopping sounds good, right? Hearing this from Jack, I decided to visit the shopping mall next week, wandering around for hours with the sole purpose of walking. That day, tired of the usual mall, I ventured to a larger mall 2 stations away. Entering the final month of pregnancy, my belly was getting noticeably heavier, so I walked around the mall, taking breaks on benches. Despite the change of scenery, I was excited to be in a different mall. As I was about to stand up, I suddenly saw Chrissy. Chrissy works at a beauty salon and has weekdays off. Delighted, I stood up to invite her for coffee and called out, "Chrissy." Chrissy, not recognizing where the call came from, looked around puzzled, then walked away without noticing me. Just as I was about to follow her, a familiar voice said, "Christina, sorry to keep you waiting," and walked past me. I froze as I recognized the man's back. It was Jack. Shocked, I quickly turned away to hide my face. "Jack, you're late." Sorry, I was held up at a client's. It took longer than expected." "That's terrible." "Yo, I don't have much time because of the delay. What do you want to do?" "Oh, never mind. Let's just have lunch somewhere." Saying this, Chrissy intertwined her fingers with Jack's, and they started walking towards the escalator. Hiding, I watched them, feeling like I was in a nightmare. What was going on? I wanted to believe there was a reason, like Jack was picking out a surprise baby item for me. But forcing such reasons felt futile. A married man walking hand in hand with another woman usually means one thing. And Jack never calls Chrissy Christina in front of me. The reality hit me hard. They were having an affair. Stunned, I couldn't bring myself to follow them further and left the mall, head bowed. Sitting on the sofa at home, feeling my heart beat faster, anger towards Jack grew. Why? The more I thought about it, the more impossible it seemed. Why now when I'm about to give birth? Why with my best friend? Why someone our families are closely involved with? Why the daughter of my employer? Pursuing the affair between Jack and Chrissy meant, in essence, losing my husband, my best friend, and my job all at once. Feeling my lips quivering and overwhelmed by a sense of anger with nowhere to go, I shouted, "Enough with the mockery," and threw a cushion onto the floor in a fit of temper. Feeling like a blood vessel in my head might burst from the excitement, I took deep breaths to calm down. When I bent down to pick up the cushion, my protruding belly got in the way and I couldn't see it. Stroking my belly, where my baby was, I apologized to the baby in my mind, and then I broke down crying right there. There's no greater betrayal than this. I didn't want to be home. I didn't know how to face Jack when he returned, but I didn't want him to know I was aware of the affair. After crying, I showered, redid my makeup, and tried to compose myself. Despite my swollen eyes, I cooked dinner, trying to act normal when Jack arrived. "I'm home." He returned as usual, whistling while washing his hands, cheerfully smelling dinner, and thanking me for my day. His attitude was unchanged, but the way I looked at him was ice cold. "Did you walk around the mall today?" "Yes. The heating is on, so no need for a coat. I have to walk a lot for an easy delivery." "Huh? Do your eyes look swollen?" "Yes. After coming back home and eating peanuts, my eyes started itching. I rubbed them a lot. I don't have a peanut allergy, so I wonder why." I smoothly rattled off the excuse I had thought up in advance. "Really? Maybe you're more delicate because of the pregnancy. Be careful, okay? Maybe avoid peanuts for a while." "Yay, that sounds good." Relieved that my lie worked, I set the dinner table. "By the way, did you ask Chrissy about the dinner restaurant? We need to book it soon." Startled by Jack casually mentioning Chrissy, I tensed up. "Can we cancel the dinner?" Why?" "Because, like today, my eyes suddenly swelled up. I'm scared something might happen at the restaurant." I was looking forward to our last date, but okay. Your health is the most important. All right, I understand. I clenched my fist under the table, but Jack nonchalantly finished dinner and started playing video games on the living room sofa as usual. I watched his back with bitterness while cleaning up the kitchen, but Jack, absorbed in his game, didn't notice my cold gaze. For days, I was consumed by anger and sadness, unable to think. As time passed, I started seeing reality more clearly. The baby in my belly was due any moment. I had to think about how to live our future. Should I make my child fatherless? Or is it better not to have a father like Jack from the start? I chose the latter. Once decided, I quickly started gathering evidence of Jack and Chrissy's affair. I had never checked before, but logging into the credit card company's website from Jack's computer, I easily accessed his statements. Until I saw them at the mall, I never suspected Jack of cheating, but the statements showed his infidelity going back a long time. There were purchases from women's brand stores and bills from fancy restaurants we never visited together. And the week Chrissy went to France, Jack had arranged flights and hotels. He said he was on a business trip, but he was actually on a romantic getaway with my childhood friend. They probably chose the cookie tin as a souvenir for me. He pretended to be impressed by it in front of me. Jack and I kept our finances separate even after marriage, so I had no idea he was spending so much. When I found his bank book and checked, there was hardly any savings. Trust is a scary thing. Once you find a flaw, the whole facade unravels quickly, and I realized how easily I had been deceived. The worst, any remaining affection or attachment I felt vanished completely. The physical evidence should be enough. Now I want to catch them together. I won't be able to move freely after the baby is born. I want to settle this before the birth. I have a business trip next week, Oh, where to? Is it overnight to the LA branch? But that's around my due date. First births often get delayed, but I'm worried. It's just for one night, so it should be fine. It's a work thing. I have to go. If anything happens, I'll fly back right away. As soon as Jack, who had just decided to go on a business trip, came home, I spoke with a surprised tone. In truth, I knew his destination wasn't LA. I had seen from his credit card history that he had booked a flight and hotel for next week. The hotel's name included San Francisco. Jack's company has a branch in San Francisco, so at that moment, I couldn't be sure. But when he said it was a business trip to LA, I knew for certain it was a lie. Isn't there any way you can avoid it? I don't want to spend the night alone. But it's not certain that the baby will be born on that exact day, right? I was beyond angry, now just astonished that he would plan a cheating trip even during the week of my due date. Clearly, Jack no longer loved me. I felt like crying out of frustration, but Jack, misinterpreting my tears as anxiety, hugged me and confidently said something he couldn't possibly guarantee. It's okay, I'll rush back even in the middle of the night. Feeling nauseated by Jack's touch, I gently pushed him away and said, I see, it's work, so it can't be helped. Sorry for being selfish. Next week would be critical. Whether labor would start before his trip or not. My priority was to safely deliver the baby, but I desperately wanted to catch them together. I had to figure out a way to be prepared for any scenario. The following week, my belly still large, the day of Jack's fake business trip arrived. As Jack cheerfully packed his suitcase, I commented, "You seem quite happy for a business trip." He hastily replied, "Not at all. It's work. It's not fun," and got defensive. Ideally, I would have followed Jack myself, but given my current condition, I decided to ask my brother for help. After telling him everything, he was, understandably, furious. My brother and Chrissy's brother were classmates and still in touch. He couldn't let it go, so he agreed to wait at the airport. I had decided to trust my brother with the situation, but the timing couldn't have been worse. Just as Jack was about to leave the house, I felt a pain in my stomach. Ouch! At first, I thought it was my imagination, but then a stronger pain hit, and I was sure. No, it seems like it's starting. You're kidding. Right now, when I'm about to leave, Jack looked pale as he peered at me. Are you okay? Can you go to the hospital by taxi alone? Aren't you going to take me? Aren't you going to be there? But you know I have to go now. Didn't you say you'd fly back if anything happened? Barely able to breathe, I glared at Jack, clutching his shirt. After a moment of silence, he said, "All right, I'll grab the car keys. Wait here," and went back to the living room. I wondered why it took so long just to get the keys. Finally, he returned and carried me on his shoulder. "Can you walk?" "Yes, but it hurts." Gritting my teeth, I got into the car. Jack drove recklessly. It was about a 20-minute drive to the hospital. I endured the pain, reclining in the passenger seat. There was no time to contact my brother. When we were 3 traffic lights away from the hospital, Jack's phone rang. He tensed up, but then the light turned green, and he had to drive on. The phone, connected to the car via Bluetooth, displayed Christine on the navigation screen. I mustered all my energy and touched the call button on the screen. "Hey, stop it," Jack yelled, but I was quicker. The next moment, Chrissy's furious voice came through. "Jack, I just checked Messenger. What's going on? I'm already on my way to the airport. Canceling on the day itself is just too cruel. You could have just left Elizabeth with an ambulance. If you come now, you can still make it. Come quickly." I couldn't tell if it was the pain in my body or my heart that ached more at Chrissy's words, but I screamed something unintelligible. Jack hastily ended the call and continued driving in silence. Then, unbelievably, he pulled up to the hospital's roundabout, yanked my arm, and dragged me out of the passenger seat. I fell to the ground with too much momentum. "You'll manage from here, right? I'm going to go on my business trip now. Good luck with the birth." Saying this, he jumped into the car, sped off, and disappeared. People at the roundabout, shocked by the unbelievable scene, rushed into the hospital to call for help. Unable to think anymore, I was quickly taken inside by the nurses and doctors who came running out. Eventually, I lost consciousness due to the immense mental shock and apparently delivered my child through a cesarean section. When I next awoke, everything was over. As I opened my eyes, the white hospital ceiling slowly came into view, and I was addressed by a nurse. "Mrs. Elizabeth Carter, can you understand me?" "Yes." "You're in the hospital. Do you understand?" "Yes." "Your baby was born safely. It's a boy." Hearing this, I covered my face with both hands and wept. Who could have imagined such a birth? Not me, 2 months ago. Even after learning about Jack and Victor's affair and feeling despair, I never thought it would go this far. To abandon a wife in labor for a mistress, is that even human? The nurse, Diane, seemed lost for words at my state, but returned after a while with my baby. "Here's your baby." Holding my small, warm child for the first time, I was overwhelmed with guilt for giving him such a father. It's better for him not to know his father. I muttered this to the nurse. Jack returned to the hospital 6 hours after I regained consciousness, by which time it was already dark outside. Jack, coming up to the maternity ward through the night corridor, didn't speak to the nurse's station, but wandered, looking for my name on the door of the hospital rooms. Fortunately, Diane, who happened to be my nurse, recognized him and approached him from behind. "Are you looking for someone? Please, you need to write in the visitor's book at the nurse's station." I'm the husband of Elizabeth Carter, who was admitted this morning." "Mrs. Carter's, I see. Please come this way." Diane led Jack to an empty lobby chair, then excused herself momentarily to return to the nurse's station before coming back. "My wife, she's gone." "What?" Jack stared blankly at Diane, not comprehending her words. "You won't be able to see Elizabeth and the baby here. Unfortunately, they're not here." "What do you mean?" "The shock of you dragging her out of the car and leaving her at the hospital entrance was too much. She was conscious until we got her to the delivery room, but then she lost consciousness. Just from that, it can't lead to the worst case scenario, can it?" "The worst case scenario? What do you mean by that?" "I think, for Elizabeth and her baby, you are the person who caused the worst case scenario." "What the heck? That's rude. Anyway, let me see Elizabeth. I'm her husband." Just as Jack was getting agitated, the elevator doors opened, and a man stepped out. "You're Mr. Jack Carter, right?" "Huh? Who are you?" "I'm attorney Victor Campbell. I've come to greet you as the representative of Elizabeth Horiuchi." Saying this, the man handed Jack a business card. "A lawyer?" Jack looked at the man with a startled expression. "Yes. Elizabeth has expressed her desire to dissolve her marriage with you and has directly requested my services." "Wait, didn't Diane just say Elizabeth died?" Jack glared fiercely at Diane. I didn't say that. I said she's gone. It's not a lie. Elizabeth isn't here in this hospital, right, Mr. Campbell?" "Yes. The hospital surveillance camera clearly captured you dragging Elizabeth out of the car. It was deemed extremely dangerous. So Elizabeth and her child have been taken into protection. I can't disclose the location of the hospital where they've been transferred." "Why, I properly dropped her off at the hospital. How is that violent? I even came back from my overnight work in one day." "You were supposed to be on a business trip to San Francisco, right? Tough job." "Yes. I hurried back from San Francisco because I was worried about Elizabeth." "What fault do you find with me?" Lawyer Victor reportedly chuckled at Jack's response. "What's so funny?" "Sorry, it's just surprising how easily you fell for it. Jack, weren't you supposed to be on a business trip to LA today? That's what Elizabeth heard from you." Jack seemed to realize his slip-up and suddenly started sweating profusely. "Your destination was San Francisco. you were planning a one-night trip with Christina Miller, not footwork. Isn't that right? Did you forget that Elizabeth heard Christina's phone call in the car? That was a wrong number call, and I was just as surprised. I hung up immediately. I don't know anything about a call from Christina Miller. It was just a strange voice. Elizabeth must have been confused because of the labor pain. So, you're claiming your innocence in relation to Christina, correct? Of course. Just stop this nonsense. Understood. I'll convey that to Elizabeth. I'll take my leave for today. Hey, wait. Let me see Elizabeth and the child, Jack shouted. But lawyer Victor politely bowed and left the hospital. Thank you for all your help. With Diane's cooperation, I had managed to transfer to another hospital with my child. The next day, I thanked lawyer Victor after hearing everything. Well, he vehemently denied everything, but we have plenty of evidence you gathered. The hospital security footage, and the clincher. The photos your brother took at the airport of the two of them together. There's no way he can escape it now. We've also confirmed that he wasn't on a business trip to either LA or San Francisco. I can't believe I ever fell in love and married such a man. I've finally woken up. I said this while looking at my sleeping child in my arms. It's good that you no longer have feelings for him. It will make the divorce proceedings easier for you. I've seen many divorces in my line of work, but rarely someone like your husband. It's quite embarrassing. Well, Jack will probably get a lawyer and start making his moves. So we'll just observe for now. Please focus on your postpartum recovery, Elizabeth. I'll proceed with the preparations. Thank you. The 4-person hospital room was full, and in the evening, new fathers who had left work early came one after another, filling the room with happy laughter. The sound was painfully loud to my ears, and I thought about asking for a private room, but I endured it, telling myself there would be many more such moments in the future. My brother's visit at the last minute of visiting hours was a huge relief. Sorry for all the trouble, big brother. The first thing I did was apologize, but my brother gently shook his head. So cute, so tiny. He picked up the baby, looking lovingly at the new member of the family, then turned to me seriously and said, "Today, Dad and Mom behaved well. They're too tired to visit, but they said congratulations." Thank you. I'm really grateful. I'll properly thank everyone once things settle down. Don't mention it. As the nurse indicated the end of visiting hours, my brother left, saying goodbye. On the day of my discharge, my brother, who had taken a day off, came to pick me up, and we headed to our grandparents' vacant house. I chose to go there instead of returning home, anticipating that Jack might come looking for me. Jack didn't know about my grandparents' house, so I decided to start my new life there with my child. When I arrived, my parents rushed out, hugged me, and cried, saying how hard it had been. As you said, we moved your baby items and your stuff from the apartment here. If you've forgotten anything, we'll go back and get it. Thank you. I'll buy whatever's missing. Sorry for making you help me flee in broad daylight. The house was tidy, cleaned, and dust-free. I was deeply grateful for my parents' efforts to prepare the place for me and my baby. During the weekend of my discharge week, Jack predictably visited my parents' house. Unexpectedly, instead of storming in angrily, he came with a trembling voice, looking as if he was about to cry. My brother dealt with him, saying, "Elizabeth won't see you." Despite this, Jack stubbornly refused to leave the entrance. When threatened with calling the police, Jack broke down, begging, "I've broken up with Christina. I want to start over. Please forgive me." My brother, worn down, conceded. Only a phone call then, and called my new mobile number from his smartphone. Jack, given the condition that the call be on speaker so my brother could also hear, obediently complied. "Elizabeth, I was wrong. I'll take care of you and the baby from now on. Let's start over." Do you realize what you've done? Thrown out with such force, the baby could have been in danger. I will never forgive you. I have no intention of starting over. We'll only discuss through lawyers now. No, Christina left me, and if you leave too, what am I supposed to do? Wait, Chrissy left you. They're not trying to reconcile out of remorse, but because she dumped you. Unbelievable. It's not even worth discussing. Take responsibility for your actions. Goodbye and don't call again." After saying this, I hung up. My brother took the phone, telling Jack, "This is your final warning. Leave now, or I'll call the police in 5 minutes." He then went inside. Peeking out the window, I saw Jack slowly walking away, his head down. Thanks to Victor's efficient handling, the divorce was finalized smoothly, and I was able to celebrate Haruma's half birthday with a clear mind. Jack didn't have the savings to pay the compensation, so his parents paid it on his behalf. Victor arranged for a significant portion of Jack's salary to be garnished and made him sign a pledge to repay quickly. I also claimed compensation from Chrissy. I owed a lot to Chrissy and her father, and I hesitated to demand the standard amount for infidelity, but her father, completely on my side, encouraged me. "That stupid daughter. Don't hold back, Elizabeth. Give her what she deserves. That'll teach her a lesson." He even cried out of frustration. Recently, Chrissy contacted me through my brother, wanting to meet. I agreed, choosing a child-friendly cafe near my parents' house. Chrissy, thinner and more lifeless than before, appeared. Chrissy confessed that she had always been stressed about me since we were young. Elizabeth always lagged behind, causing trouble for others, yet somehow she was always loved. Whenever in trouble, someone would always rescue her. It annoyed me, she said. "So you think that justifies getting involved with someone else's husband? I always thought I'd be the first to help Chrissy in trouble, that I owed you a lot," I said, and for a moment, she looked like she might cry but held back, replying coldly, "Whatever. You really can't do anything right, choosing such a lousy man. Just so you know, I never had romantic feelings for Jack. I approached him just to hurt you. Thanks for making me realize what a shallow, heartless man he is." She stood up, leaving a thick envelope of compensation on the table, muttered a small apology, and left. Chrissy moved out after that incident, and I decided to resign from her father's company. Without a daycare spot, I'm living off savings for a while, but I plan to find a job when Hugo turns 1. This whole ordeal made me realize the complacency in myself, just as Chrissy said. Now I see this experience as a trial for raising Hugo. From now on, it's not just my life. I vowed to become stronger and protect Hugo.
Stop being so stingy with money, it makes you look poor. When we got married, my husband used to praise me for being frugal and a good wife. But in just 2 years, he changed completely. "You're too poor for me. I'm going to live with my wealthy mistress, so let's get a divorce." Is that so? How rich is this mistress? It seems you're under the impression that you're supporting me, but you're sorely mistaken. This actually makes things easier for me. I'll gladly divorce you quickly. I'm Emily, a 30-year-old housewife. I met my husband, Tom, 3 years ago through a mutual friend. Tom pursued me strongly, and we started dating soon after. We got married after a year of dating. At that time, I was a receptionist at a major department store, and Tom worked for a large corporation. Although we didn't have a ceremony, our marriage was envied by many. I quit my job to become a full-time housewife. Tom's mother was a housewife and a saver, and he wanted me to stay home and manage the household as well. Tom, having lived at his parents' home until marriage, had no experience with household chores. But after marrying me, he did most of the cleaning and laundry, saying he didn't want my hands to get rough. He treated me like a princess, and his desire to care for me was clear. "Emily, you're so beautiful. Stay just the way you are," he used to say. I tried to reciprocate his feelings by being frugal and managing our finances well. After a year of marriage, we were blessed with a lovely son. Tom took paternity leave and was actively involved in child rearing. even earning the nickname of a hands-on dad from those around us. To show our son in the future, Tom bought an expensive diary for us to record our parenting journey. He initially wrote about our family and child-rearing enthusiastically. Eventually, Tom stopped writing in the diary after about 6 months. But I continued, hoping to show it to our son someday. Tom's attitude changed drastically around the time our son turned 1. He stopped doing household chores and participating in child-rearing, which he had initially taken the lead on. He even started to criticize and complain about my parenting and housekeeping. Sigh, your cooking tastes poor. And can you dress our child in better clothes? Our house feels so poor, it's depressing. Where had the husband who praised my frugality gone? Moreover, he began coming home late, and our family rarely had dinner together. On weekends, he often went out alone. When asked where he was going, he'd say he had to go out because our house felt too poor. He even kicked me and our son out of the bedroom because of the baby's night crying. Reluctantly, my son and I started sleeping in the living room. Eventually, he even stopped holding our son. One day, after sending Tom to work and finishing cleaning and laundry, I was preparing to take our son to the park when the doorbell rang. Yes, coming. Peeking through the intercom, I saw a woman I didn't recognize standing there. I regretted responding without checking who it was, but since I had already replied, I decided to come outside. Good morning. Do you know who I am? The woman, dressed as if head to toe in brand names, asked impudently. I'm sure I don't know anyone like her. As I pondered, she started talking. The answer is, I'm Tom's girlfriend. So this child is your son. And you must be his wife. I was baffled by this sudden encounter. I couldn't just believe what this woman, who had appeared out of nowhere, was saying. For now, I need to talk to my husband, so please leave. I said, but she refused to go, insisting, I'll wait until Tom comes back. Leaving it to him will just drag things out. I couldn't let this conversation go on at the front door forever. Reluctantly, I let the woman in. After hearing what I have to say, you'll probably want to break up, but it seems you don't have much money, and you have a baby, so you won't let go of Tom, will you? She began. Right then, my son started crying. My son is crying, can you please leave? I asked, but she continued talking, ignoring it. The woman, the same age as me, turned out to be a wealthy businessman's daughter. She fell in love with Tom at first sight and approached him. They quickly fell in love with each other. They had been dating for about 3 months. I was stunned by the lack of manners shown by a modern-day wealthy daughter. Coming uninvited and continuing to talk despite the baby crying. Do you know what Tom says about you? She wouldn't stop talking. Before marriage, even though she earned little, she was a beautiful receptionist I could boast about. But now she's just a poor-smelling old lady with no income, someone I can't introduce to anyone. Her cooking tastes poor. She insists on home-caring our 1-year-old son until he's 3. But it's only because she's a non-earning housewife who can't afford daycare. She's just a parasite living off me, using our son as an excuse. Do you want to hear more? That's enough. It seems that Tom really is having an affair with this woman. Anyway, I will talk with my husband. I pushed the woman out of the door firmly. Hurry up and divorce him, okay? Oh, and you can keep the crybaby? She said as a parting shot before finally leaving. What was all that about? What a troublesome father, I muttered while soothing my son. Late at night, my husband Tom came home. I need to talk to you. What? I'm tired. If it's just complaints about child rearing, say it somewhere else. His response was as indifferent as always. However, as soon as I started with, Today, a woman who claims to be your girlfriend visited our home. Tom's face turned pale in an instant, and he began to show signs of agitation. But he quickly became defiant, saying, "I'm the one earning the money here. I'm fine with a divorce, you know. A poor person like you can't survive without me. You're already overwhelmed with child rearing, let alone working and raising a child. Oh, even if you work, with your abilities, you won't be able to support a child. You're the one who will be in trouble. Basically, a brainless, looks-only woman like you should be grateful to be the wife of a high-educated, high-earning genius like me. Oh, you're just an old lady now, aren't you?" He started making one derogatory remark after another. Tom, my husband, who belittles me while conveniently ignoring his own infidelity. I was more shocked by his words than his affair. I regretted marrying and devoting myself to such a man. The only solace was the presence of my dear son. Since that day, Tom brazenly continued to contact his mistress and even went on trips with her. A mutual friend who introduced us tried to persuade him to stop the affair, but he wouldn't listen. Even our friend was astounded by Tom's obsession with his mistress. Eventually, he even stopped giving me the $1,000 monthly for living expenses. Amidst all this, I fell ill due to the exhaustion of child rearing and mental stress. The house was a mess, and my son was still very young. But Tom continued to spend his time with his mistress without any concern. With no help from Tom, I resorted to using local childcare support services and housekeeping services to manage somehow. When Tom found out, he said, "Using community programs instead of hiring a regular babysitter or maid. Always scrimping and saving, it's so poverty-stricken." Any remaining feelings I had for Tom vanished completely. I started to think about when to bring up divorce. Looking at me, disheveled from child rearing, Tom said, "What's with that damaged hair? Can't you even take care of your hair? You're finished as a woman." Looking at me as if I were something filthy. Then he said, "It's impossible, really. A poor person like you is no match for me. I'm going to live with my wealthy mistress, so let's get a divorce. She doesn't want children, so you can have them," and he handed me the divorce papers. I've been waiting for this. I was inwardly overjoyed. Relieved that I didn't have to bring it up myself and that there would be no custody battle. Gladly, I took the divorce papers and pulled out the prepared documents, urging him to go to the city court immediately. Are you sure? What? You're the one who suggested it, right? Come on, let's go quickly." Thinking I would be flustered, Tom was surprised to see me all prepared and ready. On the way back from the city court, Tom said, "I think my parents will want to see the child. So let's have monthly visitations. I'm going to start a new family. So it doesn't really matter to me. Rather, the child is like a burden, isn't he? I'll give you the child support during visitation times. About $100 a month until he's 18 should be enough for a poor person's son. I'm being considerate even after the divorce. I'm really kind, aren't I?" Tom mentioned an amount of child support that was significantly below the standard calculation. I was amazed at his ignorance and stinginess. It was unexpected that he would bring up child support, but rest assured, I'll be claiming property division as well. Looking forward to it. After returning home, I immediately began preparing to leave the house. While I was packing up our belongings with my son in my arms, Tom approached me. "A jobless single mother like you won't be able to pay rent, right? Can you even rent a place? You have no relatives, and nowhere to go back to. I'm going to live in my mistress's mansion. I'll cancel the lease on this house by the end of the month. Out of pity for you, I'll send your stuff. I bet it's just some shabby apartment near a supermarket, but leave your new address." I silently placed a paper with the address on the desk and left the house. A few days later, Tom visited my house with the movers. Despite it being out of the state, he went out of his way to come. He seemed to have come to scout the place, claiming to be guiding the movers. As the address was different from what he expected, Tom was surprised and asked, "What? Why are you living here? Have you found another man already?" My new residence was in a locality known for its row of luxurious mansions of the wealthy class. My father passed away due to illness when I was young, and my mother raised me alone until she followed him 3 years later. Afterward, my maternal grandparents took care of me. My grandmother passed away when I was 20. My grandfather, a well-known wealthy man, died 2 years before I married Tom. My mother was an only child, making me the sole grandchild of my grandparents. Thus, all the inheritance was passed down to me. It's my own house. It was vacant because I lived out of the state after marrying you. Including other properties, the assets amount to about $13 million, which I haven't managed well. As you said, I'm a parasitic poor person. So it's not as grand as your and your wealthy mistress's residence. But it's a comfortable house, I said with a touch of sarcasm. Tom, unable to hide his astonishment, demanded, "What? Explain this to me properly." Thinking it a waste of time and energy to explain to this man, I remained silent. He then said, "So it's part of my assets too, right? I should have rights to half of it even after divorce. It's joint property, so hand over half. Cash, land, anything. Make sure you give me half of the assets." I was utterly fed up. It's premarital property, so it doesn't count as joint property. You, being a highly educated and high-earning genius, would surely know that. Who's been feeding you this nonsense? You have a pretty face. So it must be your new boyfriend, right? Probably a lawyer, he accused. As I stayed silent in disbelief, Tom continued to make more absurd statements. I'm not relying on anyone. What I said just now is common sense. I did attend law school, so I have some knowledge. But what I mentioned is so fundamental that I didn't even need to use that knowledge. Tom then yelled, "What? Weren't you just a high school graduate? I never heard of this. You traitor. You have always interpreted things based on your assumptions. Perhaps it's you who should be called a traitor for having an affair." I responded calmly. What's with that way of speaking? So you're rich, huh? Give me back the moving expenses. Pay for our moving expenses too, as compensation, he demanded. As you previously said, I'm just a poor person with a mere $13 million in total assets. I can't compare to you, with your wealthy mistress. Therefore, as planned, I will graciously accept your charity for the moving expenses. And regarding the compensation, I need to know exactly what it's for before I can consider paying it, I replied, dripping with sarcasm. Tom, unable to argue back, grumbled and left. 2 months later, I received a call from Tom. What's going on? Why is the cancellation fee for the house 2 months' rent totaling $10,000? Why was the rent $5,000 a month? He sounded panicked. A standalone house in a high-end residential area. Didn't you ever wonder? It was my house. But 2 months before we decided to divorce, I transferred the rights to another owner and rented it under your name. You left the house matters to me and initiated the divorce, so it worked out well for me. It seemed Tom, who had always lived at his parents' home, didn't even understand how much living expenses or rent could be. So, I was living in your house and being supported by you. Even over the phone, his astonishment was evident. A few days later, Tom called again. Hey. What's this about $800 in child support and compensation? You're rich, you don't need it. He sounded frantic. In fact, during the divorce preparations, I had gathered recordings of Tom's verbal abuse and evidence of him not providing living expenses. The luxury diary Tom had prepared had inadvertently become a record of our child's growth and Tom's verbal abuse. It turned out to be crucial evidence and led to demand a hefty damage compensation for verbal abuse. I hadn't planned to request child support, but as I was unemployed despite having assets, I decided it was appropriate for Tom to contribute financially as a father. So, you were in cahoots with the lawyer after all, he accused. The lawyer I hired was a woman. His assumption was ridiculous. Tom's level of presumption was pitiable. It was laughable. And then, a shocking discovery came from the detective agency's investigation. I had asked. That president's daughter Tom was having an affair with turned out to be a marriage scammer. Her claim of being a wealthy heiress was a complete lie. Tom had been tricked into paying off all of her debts, thinking her father would repay him as a wedding gift. But after he paid, she cut off all contact. Tom was in a panic. Now penniless, Tom even had the audacity to ask, "Let me stay until I find another place." He even began making ridiculous demands. "You must have an apartment somewhere. Give me a room for free, out of the kindness of being ex-spouses." Tom continued barking like a weak dog. Knowing it was pointless to argue, I listened silently and then said, "I believe you have received the notice, but I have appointed a lawyer. Please do not contact me directly like this. If you wish to have visitations with your son, please apply for visitation mediation." I then ended the call. I blocked his phone number, email, and all other means of communication. The thought of not having to listen to Tom's nonsense and complaints was a relief. 3 years after the divorce, there has been no contact about visitations. Honestly, I'm relieved. I never want my son to meet his father or his father's family and relatives. I don't want him to be influenced by their presumptuous nature. I never want to see or let my son see my ex-husband again. I still hear about Tom through mutual friends. In the end, Tom lost all his assets, struggling to pay child support and compensation to me, and living uncomfortably in his parents' home. His presumptuous nature led to troubles at work, resulting in his dismissal. He now works day and night at a low-paying job. Despite his past criticisms of my appearance, his hair is always unkempt, and his shirts are always wrinkled. Meanwhile, I built a new house on a different piece of land. As Tom knew about the mansion, I live there with my son now. I sold the mansion and properly managed my other assets, earning a steady income from them. I cherish the precious time with my son who is growing up every day, and we spend our days happily together. Additionally, as my son started kindergarten, I re-enrolled in the Faculty of Law. I had given up in my youth, but now I am diligently studying to become a lawyer. The compensation from Tom is being used diligently for my tuition. Inspired by the cool female lawyer who helped me, I want to become a reliable woman and make my son proud to have me as his mother. Life is still full of possibilities ahead. I've erased my ex-husband from my memory, and I'm looking forward to enjoying various things in life with my lovely son. I had a baby, so come and see. He's handsome like his dad and a genius. Saying this, Liana grinned with a mischievous smile. Liana had just given birth half a year ago. I heard this from my mother at home. I doubted Liana's nerve to boldly talk about her husband to me, her former fiancé. Apparently, her long-standing bad character hasn't changed. At that moment, "Mom, why did you suddenly disappear?" My daughter Kim approached, looking a bit annoyed. Then let me introduce you to my child. Kim hugged me tightly, so I hugged her back. What? Why? Liana looked at Kim, realizing something, and turned pale. I looked at Liana, who was pale and trembling, and grinned. I am Gina Williams, a 38-year-old office worker. Since I was young, I've been introverted. This didn't change even in middle school, where I hardly ever spoke to boys. Even after becoming a working adult, not much changed. I spoke to men more than in middle school, but still much less than others. My friends were all girls. My only hobby was going to my favorite band's concerts. I met my husband Wayne through our shared interest in the band. Originally, Wayne was my classmate in middle school. But back then, we were in different classes and never spoke. Wayne was always surrounded by people. A low-tier girl like me couldn't even get close. So, Wayne didn't even know my face. We reunited at a concert. By chance, Wayne and I had seats next to each other at the band's concert. Initially, I didn't notice Wayne. I was only looking forward to the concert, focused on the stage. At that moment, "Is that you, Gina?" I was surprised when the person in the next seat spoke to me, and I turned to look. There was a familiar face. "Is that you, Wayne?" I called his name, hesitantly. He looked like an adult version of the Wayne from middle school, so I recognized him immediately. If I hadn't been solely focused on the stage, I would have noticed sooner.
Yeah,
It's me. It's been since middle school. Wayne looked into my eyes and smiled. I later learned that Wayne had actually recognized me since middle school. It was because of the keychain on my bag. I used to attach my favorite band's keychain to my bag. Wayne saw it and thought of me as a fellow band fan. However, since we were in different classes, he never found the right moment to talk to me. So, Wayne knew my name, but we never got close before graduating. We went our separate ways after that. That's why I'm really happy to see you today, Gina. Wayne told me this. Me too. From there, we rejoiced at our reunion. This meeting led us to start contacting each other. We exchanged contact information after the concert and frequently emailed each other. We passionately talked about our favorite songs and members. Eventually, we started going to concerts together. Going to concerts together was a lot of fun. Wayne and I also share the same favorite songs and get excited about the same things. I couldn't imagine wanting to be with anyone other than Wayne. Gradually, Wayne became indispensable to me. I started to always think about Wayne. I realized this was love. One day, as usual, I met Wayne. We went to buy the new CD of our favorite band. I'm glad we could get the limited edition. I was happy and spoke to Wayne. But Wayne looked serious, unlike his usual smiling self. What's wrong? I found Wayne's attitude strange and asked. Then he suddenly confessed, "I want you to be my girlfriend." I already liked Wayne. And finding out we both felt the same way made me very happy. "I like you too." Saying that, I hugged Wayne. And so, we started dating and got married 2 years later. Our lovely daughter Kim was born, and I cherished my happiness. Actually, Wayne was the second person I seriously considered marrying. Originally, I was supposed to marry Steve Thompson, a senior at my company. Steve was cool and very kind. He was smart and graduated from a famous university. When I made a mistake at work, Steve subtly covered for me. Being a clueless new employee, I relied on him a lot. Half a year after joining the company, something unexpected happened. Suddenly, Steve asked, "Will you be my girlfriend, with marriage in mind?" It turned out Steve was a farmer's son, and his parents wanted him to marry. If he didn't, he would have to marry someone they chose. But that person might not be a good match for him. Steve seemed really anxious. He thought it would be better to marry someone he knew. I thought about it. Steve always helped me. So, I decided to support him. I wanted to be there for Steve, who helped me when I was in trouble at work. So I agreed to Steve's proposal. I'm pleased too, thank you. Really? I'm so happy. Steve was very happy with my response. I believed love would follow eventually. Thus, we got engaged. But the modest happiness I felt was short-lived. Because it all fell apart soon after our engagement. It was all because of my childhood friend Liana. I regretted introducing Steve to Liana. This was right after Steve and I got engaged. I decided to tell my childhood friend Liana about the engagement. Liana and I have an inseparable bond. She lived near my family home and we grew up together. We often played together since we were little. Liana and I spent time together until middle school. We went to different high schools, but we kept in touch frequently. Perhaps because neither of us had many friends. I am introverted and have few friends. The same can be said for Liana. Liana is beautiful and has a bit of a devilish charm. She was moderately popular with boys. However, she never dated anyone. That's why many boys thought they had a chance with her. Some girls were dumped because their boyfriends fell for Liana. And not just one or two. Because of this, Liana often faced backlash from others. It's not my fault they liked me. I didn't do anything wrong. That was Liana's catchphrase. That's why she was disliked by other girls. But since we were childhood friends, we often hung out together. I thought our relationship with Liana would last forever. That's what I believed at the time. Then, I called Liana. Liana answered the phone right away. I told Liana about my engagement. Congratulations. I never imagined you getting married. Gina. Is he a very plain-looking guy or something? Liana seemed genuinely happy for me. At that moment, she made a thoughtless remark. However, I was too excited about my marriage to notice. After we talked about how we met and other things, Liana made a suggestion. Let me meet your fiancé, please. I'm worried about you, Gina. I want to see for myself that he's okay. Liana asked in a forceful tone. Liana and I had known each other for years. I thought she was simply worried about me. So, I agreed without hesitation, sure. I'll ask Steve. Later on, Steve agreed, so the three of us, Steve, Liana, and I, decided to have a coffee together. Nice to meet you, I'm Liana. Steve, you're really handsome. I'm jealous of Gina. As soon as Liana arrived at the cafe where we were meeting, she greeted Steve in a sweet voice. I'm Steve Thompson. Nice to meet you. Steve also smiled and responded to Liana. They continued to have a pleasant conversation. I felt somewhat left out. At that time, I was just happy that my childhood friend and my fiancé were getting along. That's all I thought about. However, after that, things started to change with Steve. Steve began to contact me less and less. Steve and I had a lot to discuss about our wedding and meeting each other's parents. However, whenever I contacted Steve, he would say, I'm really busy right now. Can we do this later when things calm down? At work, too, Steve became distant, and I felt sad. So, I decided to talk to Liana about it. Something's weird with Steve. Did I do something wrong? I was seriously worried at that time. But Liana said, don't worry about it. Oh, sorry. I have a date now. I'll listen to you next time.
Bye.
And she hung up the phone right away. I had no one else to talk to. So, I had to worry alone. Then one day, I received an ultimatum from Steve. He suddenly called me to a cafe after work. As soon as I arrived at the cafe, he said, "I want to call off the engagement and break up." Why suddenly call off the engagement? Is there something wrong with me? I asked Steve, almost crying. We had a relationship closer to friendship than love, but he was still the person I decided to marry. I was saddened by being pushed away by Steve. Then Steve started to speak reluctantly. "I've fallen in love with someone else." It was like a shock to my system. Steve then said, "Please, break up with me." He pleaded earnestly. I managed to speak despite the shock. "Who is the other person?" But Steve was hesitant to tell me. That's when, "Hey, what's going on with you two?" Liana suddenly spoke as if by chance. Honestly, I didn't want to see Liana now. I didn't want to show her this kind of scene. But the next moment, Liana said something unexpected. "Steve, have you already talked to Gina about it?" I froze. Then Liana grinned mischievously and blurted out to me, "I'm talking about breaking off the engagement. Steve has decided to break up with you and marry me. I'm cuter, after all. A handsome guy like him is wasted on you." Liana spoke boastfully. No way. I stood there, stunned, betrayed by my childhood friend Liana. Steve looked very uncomfortable. "So that's that. I'll be taking Steve."
Bye.
Liana pulled Steve's arm and left. I was left alone, stunned in the cafe. Over 10 years have passed since then. I haven't had any contact with Liana or Steve. After more than 10 years, the shock of being betrayed has subsided. I thought about living peacefully from now on. That's what I was thinking when it suddenly happened. I had come to the shopping mall that day without any particular purpose. As I casually looked at clothes, "Hey, isn't that Gina?" "Long time no see." Liana approached me with a grin. Liana. I felt a sense of disgust seeing Liana after such a long time. There was that incident over 10 years ago. I couldn't believe she could talk to me so casually after all this time. Ignoring my stunned state, Liana said with a mean laugh, "What are you doing now, Gina? You quit your job with Steve right after that, didn't you? Don't tell me you became unemployed because you were dumped." How pitiful and unfortunate. Liana seemed very pleased with herself. "I'm working properly," I replied brusquely. But Liana, even with my cold attitude, didn't seem to want to leave. "You must still be single, right? Being alone is so lonely. Come and see, I had a baby. He's handsome like his dad and a genius." Liana said this, grinning with a mean smile. Liana had just given birth half a year ago. Apparently, it was her 4th child. I heard this from my mother at home. When mothers are friends, you get such unnecessary information. I really hate it. Steve says he wants more kids, even though I just gave birth half a year ago. It's troubling. Liana continued to brag to me, grinning. I doubted Liana's nerve to talk so boldly about her husband to me, her former fiancé. Apparently, her long-standing bad character hasn't changed. Just as Liana was about to boast further, someone approached us. "Mom, why did you suddenly disappear?" It was my daughter Kim. Kim approached me, looking a bit annoyed. Liana showed confusion at the sudden appearance of my daughter. "Gina, you were married? I didn't hear anything from your mom?" Liana was surprised not to have heard anything through the mother network. Of course. I had always told my mother not to tell Liana's mother. Liana was silent, seemingly disconcerted. "Then let me introduce you to my child." "Mom, who is this person?" Kim asked this while hugging me tightly, and I hugged her back. In my arms, Kim glanced at Liana. "Eh? Why? Liana looked at Kim and seemed to realize something, her face turning pale. I looked at Liana, pale and trembling, and grinned. I knew what Liana wanted to say. So, I smiled and answered her. Yes. Actually, I married Wayne, a classmate from middle school. As soon as I said this, Liana showed a look of astonishment. Huh? Why would you and Wayne? Liana's voice cracked in her confusion. And no wonder. Liana. You've always liked Wayne, haven't you? I told her calmly. In fact, Liana had always liked Wayne. Wayne was incomparably more handsome than Steve. Not only that, he was smart. He graduated from a prestigious university and now works at a major company. Wayne was like a prince, and in middle school, there was even a secret fan club for him. Liana was one of the fan club members. She had always liked Wayne. That's why she didn't date anyone in middle school. There was a rule in the fan club. Dating Wayne is forbidden. So, for everyone, Wayne was someone to admire from afar. Perhaps because of this, Wayne thought he wasn't popular with girls. When we started dating, he said, I haven't talked much with girls before. I went to an all-boys high school, and even in middle school, I hardly talked to anyone. He didn't have a high self-esteem. So, Wayne always treated me like a girl. He would always carry my bags and always practiced being a gentleman. As I happily talked about these things, Liana yelled out in frustration. I wanted to marry Wayne too. I never forgot about Wayne for even a second. When I had to leave high school and couldn't see Wayne anymore. It was really sad. Liana began to cry as she said this. Is this old lady a friend of Mom's? Kim looked at Liana as if she were a stranger. Then, as Kim muttered, Liana glared at her and snapped. And who is this girl? She looks just like Wayne. You're cheating. Give me back my Wayne now. Liana approached us aggressively, her eyes bloodshot and filled with madness. Just as I was wondering what to do. That's enough. Wayne, who had been away looking at other shops, rushed over when he heard the commotion. Gina. Kim. Are you okay? Wayne stood between us and Liana, ready to protect us. Dad. Kim was clearly relieved to see Wayne. Wayne. No way. He hasn't changed at all. Liana looked at Wayne, her eyes turning to hearts. I heard so much about Wayne from Liana in middle school. My Wayne was always her catchphrase. Even as adults, she'd say, I wish I could meet someone like Wayne. Wayne was Liana's object of admiration and a memory of her youth. That's why Liana gazed at Wayne with intense eyes. Wayne. However, Wayne just looked annoyed. I had already told him about breaking off my engagement with Steve. So, to Wayne, Liana was likely nothing more than an object of aversion. I've always loved you, Wayne. Liana blushes and confesses to Wayne. Kim is appalled. What are you saying to Dad? Who is this old lady? She mutters quietly. As I sneak a peek at Wayne's profile, he clearly looks angry. Wayne. Liana tilts her head in confusion, perhaps because Wayne remains silent. After a brief pause, Wayne speaks. You have a husband and you say such things? And he's the husband you stole from Gina, right? I despise people like that. I truly despise it. Wayne says this, glaring at Liana. Liana, being stared down by Wayne, seems panicked. I'll give Steve back to Gina. If I can get Wayne, I don't need Steve. Right, Gina? You'd be happier going back to your original relationship, wouldn't you? Liana looks at me and asks with a sly smile. Her voice is sickeningly sweet. So, I firmly deny it. Absolutely not. I love Wayne and Kim. Steve is a person of the past for me. I love Gina too. I hate you. Even talking to you gives me the chills. Wayne says this and hugs me. Kim also hugs me, saying, I love mom too. Seeing us like this, Liana loses it. It's unfair that only Gina gets everything. Marrying everyone's dream guy. Wayne, and even having a child. A gorgeous guy like Wayne suits a cute girl like me. Not a plain one like you, Gina. Liana says this with a triumphant look on her face. Wayne quietly retorts. You think you're cuter? What a joke. The cutest in the world are Gina and Kim. Have you looked in the mirror? Right now, you have a very mean and ugly face. Liana, rebutted by Wayne, says, Wayne, that's awful, and looks genuinely shocked. Wayne continues. Moreover, I hate people who hurt others without remorse. I never want to see your face again. Liana is utterly rejected by Wayne and is in shock. She's already in tears, her nose bright red. For Liana, Wayne was the only person she truly loved. She's been harshly rejected by the one she loved. She'll likely not recover from this anytime soon. Seeing Liana collapse to her knees, I speak. Liana, it's unfortunate, but Wayne, your beloved, is mine now. I'll never give him up. I say this with a bright smile. Liana glares at me fiercely, but I don't care. Just get along well with Steve. Your beloved Wayne will never be yours again. After all, Wayne is head over heels for me. I declare this to Liana with a smile. Liana remains motionless. I later heard that Liana divorced Steve. Because Liana kept murmuring Wayne. While crying. Her love for Wayne reignited, and Steve couldn't handle it. She lost Wayne, whom she always adored, to me. Also, Wayne directly said he hated her, leaving a deep wound in Liana's heart. Her feelings for Steve disappeared entirely. In such a state, she couldn't care for their 4 children, including a 6-month-old baby. Liana got divorced and was sent back to her parents' house. Steve got custody of the 4 children. Suddenly being a single father, including a 6-month-old, must be hard. But it serves Steve right for choosing Liana over me. Let him struggle with taking care of the children. Liana keeps murmuring at her parents' house, if I hadn't taken Steve from Gina, maybe Wayne would have been mine now. As a full-time housewife, it's difficult for her to find work now. Moreover, she doesn't seem to be trying to work and is at a dead end. Liana's parents are quite troubled. I heard all this from my mother. My mother was good friends with Liana's mother, and initially, she was worried. But she seemed to understand something after hearing about Liana's Wayne obsession. Now, she's distancing herself from Liana's mother. Liana is completely blind to reality now. She'll likely live clinging to her memories of Wayne. As for me, I don't care about Liana anymore. She can continue to live a bleak life. I'm still happily getting along with Wayne. We even go to concerts of the band that brought us together. Kim tries to let us be alone, saying, I'm not going to ruin Mom and Dad's date. I'm going out with my friends, so you two have fun. When it's just the two of us, we enjoy our dates. If only we had talked to each other in middle school. We might have gotten married sooner. I say this casually. But Wayne smiles and says, I'm very happy now. It doesn't matter if marriage is early or late. You're right. I respond with a smile. Despite all the challenges, meeting Wayne made me truly happy. I want to continue having fun with Wayne and Kim. To do this, I think of looking forward, not back, to the future.